Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on a microscopic parasite that you've probably never heard of, but is a massive concern for rabbit owners all over the world. We're talking about Encephalitozoon cuniculi. So picture this. Your pet rabbit, who's usually hopping around, suddenly develops a tilted head. They seem wobbly, struggling with balance. What in the world could be going on? Well, today we're going to play detective and track down the tiny culprit behind these really worrying signs. All right, here's our game plan. We'll start by putting a name to this mysterious illness. Then we'll get properly introduced to the invader itself. After that, we'll dive into its secret life cycle, figure out how it's diagnosed, talk about how we can fight back, and finally, take a peek into the future of detecting it. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first. Let's shine a light on this mysterious illness that, as it turns out, affects a whole lot of rabbits. The culprit has a very scientific name, Encephalitozoon cuniculi. Now that's a mouthful, but what it means is that it's a spore-forming parasite that lives inside an animal's cells. And believe it or not, this isn't some new discovery. Scientists first pinned it down way back in 1922 as the cause of paralysis in lab rabbits. So, now we have a name for our target. Let's get a little better acquainted with this microscopic invader, shall we? You know, the name itself is actually a fantastic clue. Encephalo relates to the brain. Zoon means animal. And cuniculi, that's just Latin for of rabbits. So if you put it all together, you literally get the brain animal of rabbits. Pretty descriptive, right? Now, don't confuse this with something like a flea or a tick. Those are what we call ectoparasites. They live on the outside of the body. Encephalitozoon cuniculi is an endoparasite, which means its entire sneaky life cycle happens inside the host, right down to invading its individual cells. And here's where its biology gets really cool. For the longest time, scientists classified it as a protozoa, a kind of simple, single-celled organism. But the more they studied it, the more they realized this thing is different. It's so unique, in fact, that it now belongs in its very own phylum on the tree of life. So, how does such a tiny organism manage to be so successful at spreading and surviving? Let's go undercover and expose its secret life. It's basically a four-step invasion plan. It all starts when a rabbit breathes in or eats some microscopic spores. Then, the spore acts like a tiny biological syringe, literally injecting its contents into a host cell. Once inside, it takes over, making copy after copy of itself until the poor cell is packed full, bursts open, and releases a whole new army of spores back into the world, usually through urine, to start the cycle all over again. And you might be thinking, this is a pretty rare thing. Well, think again. The latest analyses estimate its global prevalence at a jaw-dropping 31.2%. That means there's a good chance that almost 1 in 3 rabbits worldwide is carrying this parasite. This isn't just a local problem. This parasite is a world traveler. It's found on every continent, though we see really high rates in North America and Europe. And it's definitely a well-known foe for veterinarians in many places, including the Netherlands. So, if it's microscopic and hiding inside the body's cells, how on earth do you find it? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how vets actually diagnose this infection. Usually, the first clues are the symptoms themselves. Vets are on the lookout for those classic neurological signs we mentioned, the head tilt, seizures, or even paralysis. But they also check for kidney disease and problems with the eyes. And here's the really tough part. By the time these signs become obvious, the damage the parasite has caused is often permanent. To get a definitive answer, vets have a whole toolkit of tests. They can try to spot the spores directly using a microscope, or they can run serology tests, like an ELISA, which look for the antibodies the rabbit's immune system creates to fight the parasite. For even more accuracy, there's PCR testing that can detect the parasite's actual DNA, or antigen tests that sniff out tiny pieces of the parasite itself. Okay, so a diagnosis has been made. What's the battle plan? Let's talk about how we can fight back with treatment and prevention. This quote really says it all. Because the damage to brain and kidney tissues is often irreversible, early intervention is critical for a positive prognosis. Basically, time is absolutely of the essence. The quicker you can start treatment, the better the chances are for the rabbit. So, how do you treat it? Well, there's a global standard, and it involves a class of drugs called benzimidazoles, specifically one called fenbendazole.
The main goal of this drug is to hit the brakes on the parasite and stop it from making more copies of itself. And the approach in the Netherlands lines up with this international standard perfectly, using fenbendazole to stop the parasite in its tracks while also managing the inflammation it causes.
So that's how we deal with it today. But what does the future hold? Let's look at some really cutting-edge research that could totally change the game for detection.
The latest science is so exciting. Researchers are moving beyond just asking, is the parasite here, yes or no? Now they're looking for specific clues or biomarkers in the blood that can tell them exactly what stage the infection is in and how much damage it's doing.
And this table shows some of the key proteins they've found. Think of these as little signals. For instance, finding high levels of beta-2 microglobulin tells vets the immune system is in active combat. Or check out that last one, actin depolymerizing factor. That's a direct sign that cells are being damaged. Having this level of detail is, well, it's a total game changer for vets. And all of this incredible research leads us to a really powerful question for the future. Could we one day have a simple blood test that doesn't just diagnose the disease, but actually predicts it before a single symptom even shows up? Just think about that. We've covered a ton of ground today, and all of this information was compiled using a Gemini deep search. If you're curious and want to explore the science even more, we've put a complete list of all our sources in the Notebook LM document, which you can find linked below. Hey, if you enjoyed this explainer and learned something new, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this one. And please, leave your feedback in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.